This is Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. I'm in Lynn Haven, Florida, a bedroom community of Panama City, USA. It's December 18th, 2023, and it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Mako painted my car. I happened to go in on Black Friday and had a Black Friday sale, and it looks absolutely stunning, beautiful. They did a great job. These little specks are something in the neighborhood. I don't know what it is, but they'll come right off. But anyway, I told you about the forklift backing into my car a while ago, and I went to lots of body shops to get prices, and Mako gave me the best offer, and some of the body shops were downright insulting. Wouldn't give me an estimate that was even in the ballpark. But the focus of this video log, and this is a documentary, it is not a how-to, is batteries and battery chargers and how to test your battery. And this is a documentary. This battery was absolutely dead flat the other day, so you put a charger on it, and I like these Schumacher chargers. This is model Sierra Charlie 1301, and if it never comes off charging, never goes to fully charged, that's a clue that there's something wrong with the battery, and you can take the battery out and have it tested. But in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about load testers. I call these toasters because they heat up, and I bought a couple of these 100 amp OTCtools.com. Bought a couple of these 100 ampers and found that I've also got this Schumacher Baker Tango 453 tester, and as far as the chargers go, my favorite charger, I don't have one here, but is the Schumacher SC1280. It's windy today, and the Schumacher SC1280 is good for several battery types, not just flooded cells. And it's important to use a charger that's compatible with the battery you have, because they're coming out with all kinds of new batteries. But for keeping the battery charged, I like these battery tenders, and they make a model that's good for outdoor. And you want to take a voltmeter and check your voltage on your battery, and you want to make sure the electrical system on your vehicle or boat is compatible with the battery you're using. This is a flooded cell, and new cars and new batteries are different, so you have to be careful whether you have absorbed glass mat or whatever else. But the way it works is, if you check the battery voltage with the battery cranking or charged, you want to see what voltage you have, and when it's fully charged, it should be 14.25 for a flooded cell. And this will vary from battery to battery and temperature, the ambient temperature. So once you think the battery is fully charged, because you've had your charger on it for a while, you'll test it with the toaster. So people are adverse to putting these chargers on cars because modern cars, the chargers don't always work that great because they're so tight on their specs for charging now to get better gas mileage and whatever, that sometimes they undercharge it. But I'm going to remove all of this falderall that I have here, and check it with the toaster, as it's called. And I have several of these, and like this one here, and I bought one of these and it failed from OTC, and I sent them an email and they didn't even respond to me, so I may send them a letter, because on this one the switch failed, and so anyway, checking the OTC tools tester, and this thing gets hotter than a pistol, so you want to be real careful with this to make sure that you got a place to rest it where the heat won't burn anything or melt anything. But you got a good negative and then a good positive, and then put this where I can see it and watch the voltage. Now when you turn the toaster, it should go down in voltage and then come back up and stay in the good, and that's doing that. So hooray, battery's not bad yet. And that's that toaster. And this one's broken. This one actually had smoke coming out of the load switch, so I think whoever is making those switches needs to be looked at. And when this toaster came, this load tester, the first one didn't work at all out of the box, so I sent it back and got another one. So quality assurance people in the world need to beware that some of your parts ain't so good. You should think right out of the box it ought to work. But anyway, and cables, see if they're long enough here without sparks flying. Okay, got a good reading, and when we hit the toaster button, it should stay in the green. And it may go down a little bit, but then it should come back up if it's a good battery. And like I said, these things get really hot. And this is drawing 130 amps, this Schumacher part number Baker Tango 453. And so far, this is going to be my favorite tester. And the battery's good. Now, if the battery wasn't good, you'd know about it right away. And of course, using these testers is not the same thing as actually starting it while watching the cranking voltage. Put the voltmeter across it and crank the engine. Should be 9 volts or more. So this is my video. Now the reason why you're concerned about the fully charged voltage, like I say, flooded cells are usually around 14.25 for a flooded cell battery. If it's an absorbed glass matte battery or some other kind of battery, it's going to be different, because your voltage per cell changes, and then the number of cells, which in a 12 volt battery is usually 6, and they put out about 2 volts per cell. So I don't see any advantage in the absorbed glass matte batteries myself, except they're a lot more expensive. I think a good old flooded cell battery for the specified cold cranking amps is right, but you want to beware, because modern vehicles, and you don't jump start modern vehicles the same way you did in the old days. In the old days, you'd have the donor vehicle hook up and then, you know, red to red and black to black, and let it run for a little while, let the battery charger bring it up and rev the engine, and then start the slave vehicle. Modern day cars, you shouldn't do that, because you could mess up and kick a code on your computer, and then you got to get that cleared out. So, and most auto supply stores will lend you a code reader, or you can ask them to look at the codes, but it's better not to generate a code. So just hook up the donor vehicle to the slave vehicle and don't run either one of the engines while you're doing that, and then start the slave vehicle. But like I say, there's a sweet spot for charging batteries. If you have the voltage above that optimum point, you're going to overcharge the battery. If it's less than the optimum point, you're going to undercharge the battery. And I say this is akin to a sponge. Put a sponge in a glass dish and keep adding water to it until every time you add a drop, it sheds a drop, and that's called saturation. Same thing with the battery with charge and charge voltage. If each manufacturer per cell voltage is going to have a specific voltage per cell, then you multiply that by the number of cells or the battery, and then the number of batteries, and that gives you the voltage, and that's what your optimum charge point is. Higher or lower is going to give you less than optimum. But people look at batteries and don't really care about them till they stop working altogether. And what happens with batteries is batteries are working all the time. They're used to start the vehicle, and while the vehicle's running, the alternator or generator or whatever you have is generating enough power to meet the needs of the system, plus keep the battery charged. So the battery's working all the time. And in the old days, you could disconnect the positive terminal while the engine was running to see if your alternator's working, and that's not a good practice anymore. With modern computers, you can mess things up. So what I do is I look at the voltage before I start it, and then I start it and see if the voltage goes up. If the voltage goes up from the at rest, when the engine is at rest and not running, and then the voltage goes up when it's running, that tells me the alternator's putting out. Whether the alternator is putting out the full rated current, I'm not sure, unless we have a clamp-on amp meter. So, post your questions, comments, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Thanks you for watching. Dennis Sytsma, Dennis John Sytsma Productions.